That means a lot. So, General, you are one of the few truth tellers I trust out there. On this situation going under, we're witnessing right now, this tragedy in Afghanistan. Can you think, given your deep experience in the military, I'm serious, I'm not trying to be a smart guy here or in any way silly about it. Can you think of any tactical reason why we would have abandoned Bagram, about a 20-minute helo lift out of Kabul, a fortified military facility, why we would abandon that first in order to secure an airfield in a 4 million population city in downtown Kabul? Does that make sense to you at all?
From a military perspective, it is it's backwards. There is no reason to abandon a base that you've put billions of dollars into, but more importantly, it is a strategic location. It would have made this whole thing much easier. And I cannot believe that the military advisors, that being the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, did not have enough influence over the Commander-in-Chief to get him not to do this. But he is surrounded by people that don't know what they are doing, and I think that they carried the day, to include Secretary Blinken. And this is tragic, and we're going to leave thousands of Americans in the hands of the Taliban there ultimately. They're going to be scattered all over the country. If they were not being impeded, then why aren't they at the airport already?
We're talking to General Jerry Boykin, a great man. Folks, look up this gentleman's resume. It's going to take a while. You may have to read for it. It's that deep and lengthy. I love having him on the show. General, I agree with your assessment there. I spent a little bit of time at Bagram. It's kind of nestled in the mountains there. It's a decent it's a decent lift out of Kabul, but not far enough that it would make it impractical. And it just never made sense to me. There were 2 runways there. This was a secured facility. But I want to highlight what you said, because that's been on my mind as well. Although the executive, I believe in the unitary executive, obviously the president's the one man in charge there. He's got people to support him, but he's in charge. He's a branch of government in and of himself. How is it that he surrounded himself with supposedly the best and brightest, and all of these academics, think tankers, and candidly upper level military folks, and no one was able to tell him, sir, this is a disaster. Do you understand you're asking us to secure an airport in the middle of a city, high ground everywhere, friends and foe all around us? We have a place. Just a 20-minute lift out. Like, no one was able to talk him out of that. I mean, you've been in some of these high-level meetings. I'm sure you've seen other politicians who made decisions just as bad, where people were able to tell them, sir, bad idea. You better do a U-turn.
Well, that comes back to the question of who's influencing the president. Who really, they call them handlers or whatever you want to call them. The media has adopted that term, but who's really influencing the president and his decisions? Look, Lloyd Austin was a 4-star. Mark Milley is a 4-star. These guys have been in the Army for a long time. They did not have the influence to be able to talk him out of doing something this stupid, this unreasonable, and now what we have wound up with is a situation that is, for the most part, irredeemable. I mean, we're going to leave Americans behind. If he sticks to this 31 August deadline, we're going to leave Americans behind, and our national ethos, not just the military, but our national ethos is to leave no man behind. We're still looking for bodies in Korea from the Korean War and Vietnam from the Vietnam War. We're still looking to bring those bodies home. And look at what we're doing right now. I've never been so humiliated in my life as what I'm experiencing personally right now, watching what's unfolding and knowing that we're walking away from an obligation that we made not only to Americans, but to those Afghanis that stood with us, fought with us, and many of which paid the ultimate price with us.
You know what's sad about this, General? You and I have known each other for a decent amount of time now. And the sad thing about this interview, really, is, though I remember the first time you and I really started talking and, speaking a lot about an issue was Benghazi. Because you were making to me some of the exact same arguments. We don't leave our people behind. Period. We don't do it. We do everything in our power to get our people out. That is what we do. That's why our people fight for. We realize our heroes out there on the front lines realize that their government, their military is going to do everything they can to make sure that they're not left behind, waving at a helicopter, walking away. That's the last time you and I really had a really deep discussion about an issue was Benghazi, and now we're talking again about this. I mean, this. And who was the vice president then? Joe Biden.
Yep, that's exactly right. Look, first of all, I think we all recognize that we have ruined our relationships with our allies, and I think that nobody can calculate right now what the second, third, and even fourth order effects of what we're doing right now are going to be. But I can tell you they're going to be significant, not only from our allies but also from our enemies. And, let me just say this, Dan. A lot of people don't understand, but during the events in Mogadishu in 1993, known as Black Hawk Down, we fought an 18-hour battle. But nobody really understands what we're fighting over. We were fighting over the bodies of two of our comrades that were killed in the helicopter crash. And no man was going to leave Mogadishu. We stayed there 18 hours and took more casualties, but there was an ethos. It's just like William Tecumseh Sherman said to Ulysses S. Grant when he came out of the campaign there in Atlanta. He said, "I knew wherever I was that you thought of me, and that if I got in a tight spot, you would come if alive." I tell you, I keep that in my office, Dan. That is a powerful statement. That's a national ethos, and we got a president here that doesn't understand this. We got tens of thousands of people streaming across our southern border. And these Afghans that really have paid a price to be part of us are being left behind along with Americans. And I am so humiliated by what's going on here, Dan. I don't know what to do. I'm praying hard for these people to be able to get out. But, unless God performs a miracle, we're going to leave people behind there.
General, I know you're a man of faith, you and your family. I've prayed with you. And, I'd be doing the audience a disservice if I didn't include this. Can you just explain to them that the Black Hawk Down incident, what your role was there? Because, folks, it's not that Jerry Boykin saw the movie. Like, he was the movie. He was there. Can you just explain to them? Because one of the stories when I was an instructor in the Secret Service Academy, I used to tell my classes when they thought they were having a rough day, is the story of Gary Gordon and Randy Shugart, who demanded to be let down on the ground, snipers, knowing they would probably be killed in order to help our guys and not get them out. Could you just tell the audience what your role in that was?
Yeah, I was the commander of the Delta Force at that time, and I was running all ground operations. So those were my guys. Those were two Delta Force snipers, and they did just what you just said, Dan. And I'll get emotional here if I'm not careful. They 3 times they saw what was on the ground. They saw the second helicopter go in. They saw what was on the ground there, and what was on the ground was a crash with aviators that were still alive that could not get out of the aircraft because their backs were broken. And they asked 3 times to go in. And the last time their words were, "We're the only hope." They went in knowing that we didn't have a way to reinforce them within a reasonable period of time, and they were going to be on their own. And they went in there and they sacrificed their lives for 4 men in a helicopter, and one of which survived to tell us the story, which is why I then put them in for the Medals of Honor. Just think about that and then compare that to what we're doing right now. Compare that to the decisions that are being made by our commander-in-chief today and the people around him that are advising him. It is a travesty. And I hope that this president recognizes what a huge mistake he has made here, what a bad judgment he has issued here. And I hope that we'll never see this kind of thing again. We got a lot of work to do to rebuild and repair our relationships.
General, You're just a really amazing guy. You know, I know you, I've never seen you get choked up for anything, but I know how much this means to you. I really do. And